will actually make up who you are. For example, if somebody...
You want to use what you're supposed to be telling me as an example?
I mean, anyone.
I don't get, no, you're already supposed to have it, right?
I have your chart. Yeah, I have your chart on my computer.
No, but you were telling me what I needed for what the issue that I...
Oh, the salt, yes.
Why the salts are important.
Oh, the cell salts, yeah, okay, so I'll do that, actually. Wow. Testing, alrighty. Islam. I'm gonna get this book. Let me write my number down, actually, at gmail.com. Sorry, brother. What I was going to get into was the thing about the astrology and cell salts. Mother Roz has on her website at www.rvbaypublications.com some books on astrology. And cell salts are one of those things that will keep you balanced. And each sign of the zodiac pertains to a part of your body. Every part of that body, it can also be regulated and or balanced by a cellular salt. I'm going to go get the book and share it briefly with you because I was speaking with Dr. Naila, Mother Inanna, and we was going over some things. She had said, my knees, right? Okay, so I know knees is Capricorn. Okay, the opposite of Capricorn is the stomach and the breast, which is Cancer. So the first thing I asked you was, what do you eat? That was the first thing I asked her because I know whatever you eat will reflect in your knees. And usually if it's really a symptom in the knees, it's really a telltale sign that there's something wrong in the dietary. That's just what I've studied thus far. That's not like etched in stone. That's just at my studies thus far. I'm not like astrological guru, but 1 + 1 is 2. And if you see it enough, then you can confidently share that it's 2. So the salts that we were going over was, usually you only have 9 energies in you anyway. For example, I'm a Cancer. I'm going to be missing out of my chart Leo, Virgo, and Libra because I was conceived in Scorpio and I was laid out in Cancer. So I'm only going to have those 243 days, 40 weeks, or as they call them, some people say 10 months, or the 9 moon cycles. I'm only going to have those 9 moon cycles. So since I'm missing Leo, which is the heart, Virgo, which is the intestines and nervous system, Libra, which is the reins and the kidneys, I would need to take those cellular salts every day because I'm missing those energies. And 9 times out of 10, those are the people that I want to attract in my life as well. Libras, Virgos, and Leos. Because I'm missing that energy. So it'll manifest internally and externally. The other 2 salts that you would take is when the sun is actually in your sign. So for you, Dr. Naila, when the sun enters Pisces, the 19th of February, maybe the 20th. I could be misquoting that, so my apologies. But we can double check that. The whole time that sun is in that sign, you would take that cell salt for Pisces. So you would be missing, since you manifested in Pisces, you're missing Aries, Taurus, and Gemini because you were conceived during Cancer. So you have all of those energies. So those 3 salts you would have, then when the sun is transiting Pisces, that salt as well. And when the moon is transiting your sun sign, so when the moon is transiting Pisces, usually the moon transits a sign for no more than 2 to 3 days. Okay? So you would take then the salt opposite of Pisces, which is Virgo. So those 5 salts you would take, and usually where people get confused is when do I take it? When the moon's where? So you usually take the 180, which is opposite of Pisces would be Virgo. So you would take that cell salt pertaining to that. So what I can do is, if y'all bear with me, I guess real quick before Brother Taj gets here, we can go over those salts real quick. Just real quick, I guess we can still, you want to still use yours as an example?
I mean, you can just put down the different stuff. I mean, from a layman's standpoint, because it sounds a little technical.
Oh,
but
yeah, let me know.
I have the book too that he's talking about, and what I was confused about is that I found out what salt was Pisces, and I thought that's the salt I just needed to take all the time. So I bought a very big bottle of those cell salts, and come to find out I should only be taking that some of the time. But these things are available, like say, at a health food store, Vitacoast, or some of those. Anybody ever buy anything online from like Vitacoast or anything? If you look up cellular salts, once you find out what, and here's the interesting thing what he was talking about, different, depending on what sign you're born in or under or laid down on, you have issues with that. I'm Pisces, that deals with the feet, and I have a Capricorn moon, right?
Yes, matter of fact, let's get your chart.
You said that's the knees?
Yeah.
So my feet, I've had like 7 surgeries on my feet, and I just recently had surgery in June on both knees because I fell and tore both quad muscles. I ruptured both quadricep muscles. So these are the signs that are actually attached to me, and that's where I have my issues. And I do have some stomach things. So it does hold true, and you probably have something that goes on with you all the time. 9 times out of 10 is attached to the sign you were born under.
And that's funny, you said something about your feet. Other Pisces in here? Are there any other Pisces? No.
Libras?
Libra? Any Capricorns? Okay.
Which one? Horizon?
Well, I'm asking for sun sign right now, but if you know the rising on the moon, that'd be helpful too. Like, I mean, I know.
I'm a Sag rising.
Yes. We want to even double check that. But this funny thing she said about feet, if you know any Pisces, usually most Pisces have a left foot injury. And I'm not going to get too complicated with this real quick, but if you know, as Dr. Naila was once, you know.
I had 7 surgeries on my left foot.
Now that's amazing. And can I mention the house of your wedding mind when you being passed at one point in time?
Yeah.
Because this one means something with Judas and how you can have a different perspective with Judas. Judas is actually pertains to Pisces. But if you notice, anybody know Spanish? Just a little bit. Do we know what the term right is?
Derecho.
I'm sorry, right.
Right.
Derecho.
There you go. Alrighty, and left?
Izquierdo.
Okay, izquierda, right? How many disciples were Judas?
What?
How many were what?
How many disciples were Judas? There you go. Judas, and which was the other Judas? Judas with what?
Oh, it's scary.
In Spanish, the left is what?
Izquierda.
Usually, most people that are Pisces have a left foot injury, and Judas Iscariot is the one that sold Jesus for 30 pieces of silver.
What you trying to say? No.
I'm just saying. So if you really look at it like that, that's really what it is. Islam. Islam. Peace. Islam. So
We're having an impromptu class until where she gets down.
indeed.
He's getting dressed.
So and sometimes when I'm just saying colorfully now. I'm not saying this is the gospel. I'm just saying just in reading. I look at pieces and Pisces is what Brother Taj usually be talking about, symboliography.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at 30 pieces silver. Okay, think about this. How many degrees? How many people know about the zodiac signs? Okay, let's see who knows basic math then. How many degrees are in a circle?
360.
Okay, so if we break 360 up 12 times, what are we left with?
30.
Okay, so how many degrees per sign?
30.
Okay. 30 pieces of silver.
The moon?
Why did you say the moon?
Silver.
Yeah.
Silver's associated with the moon.
Exactly. The alchemical metal for the moon is silver. It's on the elemental chart as Ag and has an atomic weight of 108. Okay? And that is a sacred geometry number that ties into the diameter of the moon. But let's not get so complicated. Once again, 30 pieces, Pisces, of silver. So it's sounding like there's a moon cycle happening. If we can perceive it that way. That's not the only way to look at it. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But Judas Iscariot is the one that, you know, gave up Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. Okay? So some people may look at it like, oh, well, this, and that. No, maybe, I don't know. When you had a foot injury, do most people have to be off their foot for 30 days? So you see, so what I'm saying is what I'm actually getting to is it's not necessarily like this is what it is. I'm just saying like let's just add it up. You know what I'm saying? Let's just check the receipt. The receipt says in what they call Spanish, but it's Moorish Latin. The left is what?
Izquierda.
Okay. Judas, which one?
Iscariot.
Okay, so symboliography is what? The art and cunning of drafting documents. That means you can change words too. Sometimes they call it metathesizing, like a meta thesis where you changing the word. So sometimes we're actually reading something that's actually very simple, yet it has been presented in a symboliographic fashion. Does that make sense? Like we learned that real young in kindergarten. What's the game called? Telephone. And the teacher sits us in a circle and she starts a secret. By the time we get back around to her. And that's what we're going through right now. That's why we had House of Reawakening Minds. Because people playing games with telephone. Yeah, that's what it is. If you really think about it, okay. Let me tie it back into this real quick so we're not going off back to Pisces, right? Okay. So for Mother Naila, wow. Do you want me to go to the board with this? Or just
Here's the board. I mean, the board got cleaned. The board got cleaned. We had an issue with the board.
Oh, I don't. Well, I'm just.
So long as you got the dry marker.
Right there.
If the dry marker's up there, you can use it. Yeah, just make sure it ain't the permanent.
Oh, okay. Can everybody kind of? I guess if I kind of hold it like this. It's a chart right here. And I'm just going to kind of walk by, so y'all can see that literally I can go through the whole zodiac head to toe. 12 major points in your body. Aries is the head, Taurus is the neck.
Why don't you do this? A couple people call out your zodiac and then just tell them what their part of the body, because then they'll find out that there's normally something.
Okay. Yeah, that'll be pretty fun too. Okay, I'll do this. Thank you, beloved. All right. So where do we want to start?
Gemini.
And then Scorpio.
Who said Gemini?
I did.
Okay, so I heard Gemini, then Libra, then Scorpio, right? Alrighty, so that means the sun, and you know what, I can kind of maybe guess what degree, because remember we said each sign has how many degrees?
30.
Alright, so each sign has 30 degrees. So 9 times out of 10, based on when the sun comes into Gemini, which is normally May
23rd.
22nd-ish. Yeah, because she's a Gemini at the first degree, maybe 23 minutes, something like that. I may be off. I'm sorry, we was looking at the chart the other day. So what date? 4th of June, right? So if we take the 23rd, 30 days have September, April, June, and November. So we know from the 23rd to the 30th, which gives us 7 days. 31st gives us 8. 4 more gives us 12. If you're at 1 degree and some change, you're at about 13. Maybe 13, 14 degrees in Gemini. And you can do that with any sign. It's not like a magic trick.
What part of the body is moving?
Lungs, arms, and shoulders. It's communication. You probably can dance real well, have a really great sense of rhythm maybe. I mean, it's polarity too, you know, and that means what you could really be great at it or not. Who knows, you might be really great at writing, sign language, can really down-to-earth communication. Whereas the opposite of Gemini, which is Sagittarius, which is a fire sign pertaining to the thighs, is more of higher education, ruled by Jupiter. You're more ruled by Mercury. Mercury rules the nervous system. As you can see also, it's ruling your lungs, arms, and shoulders. But if you think about that, All of that's connected to the nervous system. That's the way we communicate. Sign language, writing, dancing is communication as well. You know what I'm saying? So with you, probably dealing with the lungs, breathing exercises would be great. Most people that are Geminis, I usually advise them not to smoke. Carcinogenics, so to speak, like, cigarettes and stuff like that. Like, just stay away from that. Great things about Geminis, though, and I think I'm going to say this. Most people will say Geminis have like the two-faced thing, and I'm going to speak on it because it's common. It's not that. It's a matter of you guys can actually see both sides of the coin in a fashion where if there was one side of the coin in opposition to the other side of the coin, naturally, you could still see the benefit in how both could work together.
Right.
So I kind of see that quality in a lot of Geminis. So that's one air sign. Next air sign. So you're the first air sign too. Think about Gemini too. You guys are really great at closing things out. Because Gemini is the end of the spring. So it's mutable, as they say it. Mutable means flexible. So you usually are really great at somebody starts off something. Cardinals. You Cardinals start things off. Aries, Cancer, Libras, Capricorns. You guys start things off. If you really want something to get finished, you need a mutable sign. You need a Gemini. You need who else is very mutable there? Virgo is mutable. Sagittarius is mutable, and Pisces, mutable. Very excellent finishers. Okay? Your managers are the ones that I didn't mention, which is so funny. Those are the fixed signs, the four signs that are, behold the beast, and I saw one with the head of a lion and the head of a man, Leo, Aquarius. And I saw a bull and I saw an eagle, Taurus, Scorpio. That's really what it is.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Scorpio is the eagle. Yeah. And there's actually some software that you guys could download to actually have some fun with astrology, because a lot of people just kind of, I just need to read it. Yes, read it. But there's actually apps out there that are telescopic apps. Sky Map by Mobius is one of them. Mobius, Sky Map. What's the one I had you download? I can't remember it. It's Sky something, but you guys can literally take your phone and stand with your phone anywhere and can see where the ecliptic is, where the different stars are, and usually you can start to really see the so-called tilt of the planet, as they say, by looking and observing the many different views that you get with this telescopic app. And it's really based on GPS. It really is. And it'll provide the longitude and latitude of where you're from. So let me get to Libra. I'm sorry. Let me stay on course. Libra. Very excellent in judgment. Mother Roz is a Libra. Sister Anahita, Libra. Very good at judgment. It's another air sign too. Things about air signs, duality with air signs too. Gemini, twins. Libra, scales. Aquarius, air sign but appears to be a water sign. People say, I thought Aquarius was water. No, it's the water bearer. How can air bear water? I don't know, as a cloud, that's how I think. You know what I'm saying? Libra. Kidneys. If you don't drink water, you get migraines. Like it's not like a thing of like, let me look into my crystal ball and tell you. No, it's really more of, no, if you don't drink water, you really have migraine headaches. And it's funny, probably this time that just passed, you just had a solar return about 2 months ago, right? So in that solar return, here's my question. In what part of that solar return were you extremely dehydrated?
October 20th.
You see what I'm saying? Like, and it's not like it's a matter of that's how the mathematics go. Because another part too, you gotta think the sun is now, instead of being here, the sun is here. So that's a Leo ruled energy that I say brings about probably extreme thirst. Most people go through that when the seasons change at equinoxes. Usually I've seen it. You eat less, but you begin to drink more water. That's been a personal observation. I'm not saying like that's the end all be all. But yes, Libra, very good at judgment. When it says scales, I know he's saying it's scales, but it's really the kidneys. It balances you when you have water. Prophet Noble Ali said, water cleans the body. So I would do my best to like always pay attention to things like water and like the kidneys, because you'll find other things dealing with that. In Mother Rosa's book here, Truth About Your Health, it also calls the kidneys the reins. Well, the areas, the reins. It doesn't call the kidneys the reins. My apologies. That was incompetent to say on my behalf. My apologies. But to look at that, I would get some more information, because that will be a part of your reflection, of you reflecting on yourself. You know what I'm saying? Scorpio. Oh, you know what? What date for the Libra before I get to the brother with Scorpio? What date?
21st. The 20th I knew because I had a really bad headache en route to New York.
20th.
The day before my birthday, I had a really bad headache.
So if I'm not mistaken, Libra actually comes, the sun comes into Libra.
22nd. The 22nd of September to the 21st of October.
On the last day.
That's what I was thinking, 29th degree. That's an anaretic degree. Okay, what is the anaretic degree? Mother Naila, I can't really make this up, because you guys kind of, this and that, and it's just I'm looking at like the energies is making certain things happen. Anaretic degree, which means you are almost a Scorpio. Okay, so 9 times out of 10, you, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you're in a conversation with someone, you would much rather just get over it, let's get to the point of solution. That's most people that have their ego at the 29th degree are ready to get over whatever the sign they're actually born in, because they were potentially about to be that next sign. And usually they give off an ego as such. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there is some heavy water in your chart. Most people that have heavy water in their chart usually got round eyes. So you have that look, round eyes. You know what I'm saying? Usually that might mean you may have a moon in Cancer. That's a possibility. Your moon's in Leo. See how, but what's the sign after Cancer? You see what I'm saying? So it's like, I can kind of, how am I saying it? I'm getting to a point, Mother Naila, where I try to start looking for certain traits, and I'll just throw it out there. If I'm wrong, I'll admit it. But if I'm close, that's like, okay, I'm starting to see certain things. But yes, I would actually like really focused on that, because that means a lot of times you make quick judgments. You make really quick judgments. And with you having a moon in Leo, since you gave me that, 9 times out of 10, nobody here, I'm not asking anybody to do it, is going to guess your age, because everybody with a strong Leo in their chart, Sun, Moon, and Ascendant, always look younger than what they are. Period. Actually, and children can't stop playing with you. You're the one that's got to let children know when to stop playing with you. No, I'm just saying that's how people with that strong Leo energy, children will not know how to, they won't stop. They will not stop. You got to be like, all right. Wait your mother. It is really, with Leos, all Leos go through it. Okay? Scorpio. What date?
2nd.
Of... Here we So the 2nd of November, Islam.
Well,
2nd of November. Let's see. How deep are we into the Scorpio there? October 23rd, we start the Scorpio, right? Alrighty, so 30 days after September, April, June, and November, that's 8. You said the 2nd? 9, 10. So about maybe the 10th degree of Scorpio. Which means, and I didn't really get into the degree thing, but I will with you. How many degrees again?
30.
Alrighty. If we divide 30 into 3, that means, alrighty. Where are you at, I just said? What, the 10th degree. So that means you just passed 0 and 9. So you're not what they would call a Scorpion Scorpio. You would be known as a Piscean Scorpio, which I would say sometimes people would actually come to you. Okay, I won't say it like that. Let me say it in a little bit more layman's term. You're the guy that people ask for directions when they lost. And I hate to be like kind of random, sort of, but the reason why I'm looking at that is because Pisces kind of gives off wisdom. That is the sign of wisdom, actually ruled by Neptune, as well as ruled by Mother Delilah. Neptune and Jupiter. If I'm wrong, then I can be corrected later, but Pisces is ruled by both Neptune and Jupiter. Okay? So there's a lot of things with expansiveness, wisdom. Dreams may be even vivid to you, or you may not have dreams. But the thing about Scorpio, that's funny. You're mutable, you're cardinal, you're fixed. Okay? So you might have been the one that you grow up, boy, you stubborn. You know what I mean? That might have been, because at the same time, Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarius, and Leo are fixed. And in order for you to really get to change your mind, we have to, you're from Missouri. Even the prophet said, my Moors are from Missouri, but you have to be not just like told or convinced, you have to see it for yourself and then you move on that. And usually it takes things like wisdom. You may have to see the wisdom in something in order for you to make a move. It's like, okay, so this year we're all jumping off of bridges. Yeah, I done seen they all jumped off a bridge. What's your appellation, brother? You don't have a name. What's your appellation, brother? Sindel? Alrighty, so, hey, Sindel, it's just me and you left, man. You ain't jumping off a bridge. And you're like, you have to give me one good, wise reason why I should change my mind and even contemplate or consider why I should even get off that bridge. Man, my brother right here next to you laughing. So that's why I said I'm not guessing, but when you know the mathematics and come across it so many times, you kind of know the bent of people's energy. And usually, now let's bring this kind of home fully. When Prophet Noble Ali said, know thyself and thy Father God Allah. From studying what I've been seeing over the last almost 4 years from House of Reawaken the Minds, from Brother Taj being here, Mother Roz, Mother Delilah, Sister Sandra, Dr. Naila. Just so much wisdom has come over that YouTube, okay? What you'll begin to start seeing is correlations from mnemonic learning. That means you've been seeing things over and over and over and over again, that now you'll start to make other connections haphazardly. So when Prophet Noble Ali said, know thyself, we just had a whole know thyself explanation process. My thing that I like and enjoy to do is being able to give you guys the concepts and the keys so that you can do your own charts. Not too many astrologers do that. The reason why I do it is because I know that that's healing you. If you wonder why children keep playing with you, I don't know why they keep playing with me. Oh, you know what? My moon and Leo. Come here, baby. Let me play with you. 20 hard minutes. All right, look, I gotta go. And you'll start to do that. You'll have more energy in focusing on how to season your life. So again, bringing that back. Season your life, and when you do things, instead of your energy and trying to figure out the recipe. So when you wonder why it appears your brothers from Hindustan, brothers and sisters from Hindustan, and it's like, dang man, it's like they got the hotels and the subways or whatever and things of that nature. Now, that may appear to be true, but what they're really working is their chart. No, I'm serious. You can go to a subway. I can't say that because they're mostly from Nepal now. A lot of them, a lot of our Hindustani brothers and sisters are in hotels because we purposely study languages and will learn enough to have a conversation just so that we can start talking with other nationals, okay? And when you do that, you'll start to really see and realize that everything that Brother Taj and Roz and everybody else been talking about is legit. Like, knowing your chart and that astrology will really help you govern yourself accordingly. Islam,
and that's the reason why astrology, the true astrology, has been kept from the masses. And what we've been given, I think y'all can hear me. What we've been given is this, this comic page variety. Read your horoscope. We're not talking, and that's horror. But what we asked you seriously, when you look back on it, well, when you know yourself through your astrological sign and all of the things that go with it, your sun, your moon, your rising, it puts on a whole different perspective. And those are the things that were deliberately kept from us so that we could not, rise to our highest potential. And so now we're in a place where, the taboo of all those things, because I stood in that place where you are for 10 years preaching to people about all this negative stuff, this and that, the other. But I, had to wake up and realize, really, I was pulling them in a pit, and all of us have been pulled in a pit when you kept from knowing the truth about who you are. And that whole book that I was preaching, another way, is about knowing oneself. Like the prophet said, know thyself. And when you really get into it, you see yourself, and you see how and what you must do to correct some things. Islam, just say like this. So yeah, really, it's important because a lot of people are saying, I'm not going to touch that. But I have a friend who she works, anybody ever heard of California Psychics? She's a California psychic. She worked with me here at House of Mines when she was in Delaware. And she said the majority of her clients are like preachers and prophetesses and people calling the psychic line. But then stand up in pulpits, speaking against this stuff. So we have to go after those things that, because a lot of us are behind the, curve when it comes to that, because we've been taught that it's taboo.
Indeed. Well, you know what?
And I'm glad that you spoke on that, Mother Naomi, because when y'all speak to me, it's like 100 televisions in my head, and I'm making these correlations. So I want to make this a little, turn it up to be a little more fun, because I want you guys to think for a second, okay? All right. When it comes to astrology, right? Islam, peace. When it comes to astrology, right? Is there anyone here that was raised up in institutions that said it's shirk, it's heresy, stay away from it? Just by a show of hands. Dealing with astrology, right? Okay. Now, in those institutions, who are the main two figures? Well, it's really three. But I want you guys to give me the main three figures in that situation. Who are the main three figures in the so-called Bible church situation? Three main figures. Who are they? Three main figures in the church.
The pastors.
Well, let's go higher.
Father, Son, and Holy Ghost.
There you go. All right. So normally they will put Father here, right? Son, Holy Ghost, right? Now, how did the Father and Son get here?
Through the Holy Ghost.
How did the Father and the Son get here? Peace. Islam, Brother Todd.
Through the Holy Ghost.
So who's the Holy Ghost?
Through the Holy Ghost. The mother.
Who's the Holy Ghost?
The mother.
So now, if that's the case then, right, since that is true, right, how could they really, Islam peace, how really could they really do anything pertaining or not pertaining to astrology? I'm gonna say this. Every 28 and a half days, you sisters are controlled by what is that there? The what? The moon, Luna. So every 28 and a half days from one of the, either the right ovary, the left ovary, you're dropping ovum. Okay? That's ruled by the moon. So the point that I'm making is, if anyone's teaching you can't believe or do astrology, they're denying the very fact that you got here because of astrology. If it wasn't for the moon cycling, you wouldn't be here, because this is how it goes. An ovum or egg leaves either right or left ovary, travels down the fallopian tube, down into the uterus, attaches to the endometrium lining, waiting for defibrillation. We know what a defibrillator is. Clear. That spark for life. So anybody denying astrology is denying their root pertaining to their existence. And with that, I yield the floor. Islam? Not yet? Okay. No, that's fine. That's fine. So basically, what you guys have been walking on, we were briefly talking about astrology. I and Mother Naila were speaking. I asked her, did she take her cell salts pertaining to the knees? And we was going over, there's 5 cell salts that you take. Most of us went through a gestational period of, I think I said it wrong at first. I think I said 240 days. Correct me if I'm wrong, Brother Todd. I think it's 273 days, which is the 40 weeks or the 9 moon cycles that you're being prepared in the first schoolroom, which is the womb. And usually you're missing 3 energies. And as I said, since Dr. Naila is a Pisces, that means she's missing Aries energy, she's missing Taurus energy, and she's missing Gemini energy as well. So there are 3 cell salts that pertain to those energies. Those 3 cell salts for Aries is caliphosphate. Okay? Now
I actually bought the cell salt that pertains to Pisces, but I didn't realize I'm only supposed to take it at a certain time. I thought it was like all the time.
Indeed, well, the instructions, and I'll read the instructions before I get to the cell salts very briefly. Here on page 3 of A Truth About Your Health, alrighty, it says here, we are typically in the womb for 9 months and receive the vibration and energy of the earth and the universal bodies based on their position to the earth. During these months, we are in the womb. However, there are at least 3 months of the yearly cycle that we did not receive these vibrations while in the womb. These 3 months correspond to the 3 zodiac signs after your sign. So after the day, the 3 signs after you were born. It is suggested to take these 3 cell salts on a regular daily basis. That's instruction 1. So the 3 signs after you, those 3 cell salts. For Mother Inanna, it would be caliphosphate, which is potassium phosphate, nat sulfate, which is sodium sulfate, and calimera, which is muriaticum, which is potassium chloride. So those are the 3 cell salts you would take. Lastly, the last 2 cell salts, it says the cell salt belonging to your sign is to be taken once a year during the entire time the sun is in your astrological sign. So, for you, Dr. Naila, when the sun is in Pisces, you will be taking, let's see if I got this correct, ferrous phosphate, which is iron phosphate. So that would be taken for those 30 degrees pertaining to Pisces once a year. Okay?
Well, can I say this, and this is like on a totally different subject, but just so, especially since we have a lot of new people here. Sister Abundance is the proprietor of one of the most awesome vegan restaurants from the East Coast and probably in the country.
Drop Squad.
Drop Squad Kitchen. So she vends the food, So at any time, and please do not make her take anything home. Please go over during class or even now as she's putting stuff out and make sure you get something from her. Especially if you're vegan or vegetarian, her food is awesome. She's been featured in magazines and all that stuff. She's got a family restaurant, her children work in a restaurant, and she's well known through all the cultures around here. And we are so in a position of honor that she's here. We're not blessed. How do you know that blessed means bleed?
You know that sure does.
Yes, blood
We were
sacrifice.
talking about it today.
You're so honored.
When you say bless you saying bleed. That's what the
So
road
today
is.
we have rice and
Bless the
peas.
sisters. What you got?
Rice and peas and curry chicken for 5.
Okay.
We have
And it's not
green-
chicken. It's chicken.
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 Today we have rice and peas and curry chicken. We have cornbread, macaroni, cheese, greens, and beef steaks.
And it's all vegan.
Somebody said Brother Hasan's favorite is the beef steak. All right.
Anyway, I just wanted to get that out so you know. At any time, please go over there. And over here on this side, I have tea, bottles of tea for 2 notes and bottles of water for 1 note. So, just so you know.
And lastly, and then I yield the floor to you, Brother Taj, if you're ready. Lastly, when where's that last instruction? It says, the cell salt of your 180-degree polar reflection, which means the opposite of your sign. For Pisces, it's Virgo. Should be taken when the moon is in your sign. So when the moon is in Pisces, which is approximately twice a month, okay? For approximately 2 to 3 days, you would actually take, pertaining to Virgo, which is the Kali sulfate, which is potassium sulfate.
I've been told about that I need potassium, so I kept hearing potassium in there.
And there's ways of getting this in regular foods and diets. You can go to,
But thank you.
Indeed. So,
Thank you for that.
indeed, I yield the floor. It's on.
Creation and fall of man. Yeah, because we're going to deal with Wardship Disspeller.
Okay.
You got your Wardship with you?
I ain't bring that.
Wardship
I don't
Disspeller.
have the Wardship Disspeller
Let
though.
me use this.
Yeah, you can use the Quran though, and a 101 in there too. And the Zodiac Constitution.
Now, I want you all to chapter 1 of Circle 7 Quran, because
I would like to welcome you all to the House of Reawakening Minds and our illustrious instructor, Grand Sheikh, Master Teacher, Taj Tarik Bey. Let's receive him.
we've had multiple discussions this week, because I've had the honor of spending a lot of time with Dr. Naila this week, so we had a lot of time to talk. And one of the things that I want to deal with is Wardship Disspeller. How many of you have the book Wardship Disspeller? How many of you have it present? That's all right. Now, Wardship Disspeller, I did that mainly to introduce people to God, the Word God, and to remove some of the mystery of the Word God. Now, one of the most discomforting things that humanity has to deal with in this current cycle is most of the evils that has befallen humanity has not come from some mystical devil, but it has indeed, in fact, and provably come from the priesthood collectively. The difficulty for people, many, to handle that truth is both dangerous to them, to their children, to their offspring, and to their future. One of the reasons I heavily edited Wardship Disspeller, because because actually it's not complete. That's not the Adeptus version. That's a synopsis version that I put out a few years back. And one of the things that I recognize in working towards helping to liberate humanity, a reality is if you don't tell the truth about the priesthood, you will not liberate them. If they don't find it out for themselves and start releasing, or what is the phrase that is said in the Septuaginta and in the Bible is render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. What that includes is the dogmata that was set up by the priesthood for mind control, for conquest of humanity. And it's uncomfortable for a lot of us because we grow up in the mosque, in churches, in temples, in synagogues, in different houses. And one of the things that you'll learn when you go into scholarship, you know, and understand venues like this at the House of Reawakening Minds, venues like the Roundtable, etc., are really venues for people who are brave enough to start using their divine mind and thinking for themselves. And it is set for you to both politically, economically, and ethereally, at least on the third degree plane, to begin the liberation of the being, the monad, in the physical vehicle, actually to prepare you for the Aquarian age, or for the Aquarian cycle. In simplicity, or in common language, the priesthood referred to as Jesus come again, Jesus ascension, the new age, the revelation, in reference to your liberation, the common term would be called the apostasy. And the apostasy is really more or less directly talking about the dynamics of human development, of you learning the chambers of your mind. And some of it I'll go into, a little bit of it. But the actual purpose is to begin to get you to think again. And understand anything that I say to you is not something that you really don't know. Truth is, the priesthood has squashed the thinking processes of humanity to such a degree that for the most part people are afraid to think. And some people forgot that they're afraid to think. And they actually have been evolving in such a manner as to think that what they've been thinking are their own thoughts. And so the Wardship Disspeller. And I'm going to state certain fundamental truths. Did they get rid of those permits out of here?
Yes.
Yeah, we hit it.
I thought we did before.
We hit it this time.
Well, that was funny. Not. The mystery. Now, originally, I started teaching my children the Kabbalistic foundation of the books, so that as they grew up, they would not be scooped up and under the mind control of they like to call themselves Khazarians. But on another level, like when those of you who know the Septuaginta, when you look in John 8:44, and Yahshua makes reference to some persons claiming to be Jews and are not Jews, essentially those are the core of the dark priesthood who have been actually running the planet. And they are the circle of dark brotherhood that have been murdering all the prophets. And they're also the priesthood who set up the order of de facto governance on the planet to enslave humanity from generation to generation. Nevertheless, they've also been at the head of all your major orders that have been presented to the masses as religion. They have not always had every control of every person who present those positions to you, but they are in all of them, meaning that overall they control. And there's a couple of things that we want to discuss, and we want you to be very clear on, because we don't want you to be defensive. We don't want you to feel as though we're attacking your beliefs or your religions, etc. Because the truth is, and it's not taking a superior position, the masses don't get religion anyway. They have been convinced that they have. As an example, how many of you, in your honor to yourself, to your own self, being true, can honestly state that you know the keys to the universe because you know God? And if that is so, raise your hand. Go ahead.
I know myself.
Anyway. These things I would like you to take notes on, because really these directives tonight is to send you on a study mission. And because all of these things that we are mentioning cannot be discussed in detail, we hold you in honor to responsibility to yourself to do some research. However, we'll give you some reference points so that you don't have to spend years and years and years of scholarship, if you get the point, for those who know and who are not telling. I want to say this to you. Most people in positions of authority, in positions of the priesthood, whether they're imams, rabbis, sheiks, shaman, bishops, priests, reverends, the whole crew, matters not what club they come from. And many times as I've traveled the country and I've talked to people on this part of the land and people outside this land, most of the time when you're in what you would call privy council conversation, meaning like if we're in close quarters like this, or like sometimes I run into people when I've traveled, or when I've flown to different parts of the country, which I don't fly much anymore. I mostly travel, train, and I've met a lot of people, Europeans and Asiatics. And the interesting thing that I've discovered, and not really, so no, I don't want to tell a story. It's not like that, really. People have a tendency, when they know, to recognize you even when you don't speak. Meaning that you can go, amongst people who are adeptus, and they can almost sense your presence. And a lot of times, if they feel comfortable, they'll start asking you questions to see where you are. You know what I mean? They'll try to break the ice. And when you're talking to them, and a lot of people are not around, the things that we're talking about right now are not only not denied, they're often enhanced. And yet, when people are around, they change their whole story when it affects the pockets. You comprehend? And that's Europeans and Asiatics. And the other thing that I discovered to my disappointment, I'm not so much disappointed now, I think maybe when I was younger, that a lot, more often those who try to suppress the truth and the denial of the conditions of our people relative to the dogma cycles that they have been subjected to for generations is the persons among our own called reverends and priests, more so than Europeans. I won't go into what I think necessarily about them, but I'm just telling you, I'm bringing that to your notice. And that was one of the conclusions that I came to that inspired me to write Wardship Disspeller, to be honest with you. But Wardship Disspeller is not designed as an etymological dispensation on God itself, but yet an introductory. You know, it can go deeper and more refined, but I try to present things in such a way that people take responsibility, because these degrees are for liberation, they're not for followership. These degrees are not to make you follow people. These degrees are to liberate you to your own spirit, to take responsibility as to why your mother brought you here, and for you to be directed into that order in order that you might harmonize with this cycle that's coming. That's actually kind of like already here, but it's accelerating. And due to the real true fact of the present evolution of the human species at this time, jealousy, mostly jealousy, not so much anger because it's not totally justified, but mostly jealousy, envy. The dark priesthood want to kill you all rather than see you liberated, because they lived on you for so many generations, and they have this sense of ownership, almost like they own your life. And in fact, they've been operating from that perspective. That's what the unum sanctum policy is. And for those who don't already know that, write that down, unum sanctum, because I'm not going to go into that, but keep this in mind, because these are keys that you need to know about the priesthood so that you can stop, bowing down to those who are really seeking to put you in darkness while pretending to be givers of the light. And when you see the Bible talk about the angels of the dark or the peace breakers coming as peacemakers, all of this is reference to those in power who have been impersonating and misrepresenting the Bible, the Quran, the Waspi, the Vedas, Septuaginta, all of the books, which they all have, plus others I could name, Kybalion. For those of you who are prepared to, and I'm sure that you are because you wouldn't be here, begin to liberate yourself spiritually. Read the Kybalion. That's Kybalion. And we're going to, in the future, we're going to bring that in to give you a heads up. Now, if I was talking to a rabbi, if I was talking to a Shriner, member of Thule Society, DAR, Illuminati, Master Mason, past 18 degrees, Bishop, Grand Sheik, Shaman, all of those are PhDs. Those are just titles for different orders, but the truth is one. Are we clear, you all? Meaning that when you're a follower or believer, you follow what the person who's standing behind the pulpit or the rostrum speaks to you without challenge. Now, when you see the story of Yeshua and the priesthood, in order to hide the real history, codified the name of Zeus, Jesus, Jesus, in 325 AD, which is not his name. But it's a password. It's not wrong. It's not wrong. Are we clear? Are we clear? And Jesus is not a transliteration of Yeshua. Are we clear? Clear. All right. It's not what his mother named him. Are we clear? The one they call Jesus, that's who it is. That's his name. Now, because the figure that's presented in the name of Jesus is one of the most powerful psych figures on the planet. Except for the priesthood, most of the people who claim, I don't say that they love him, because I won't make that lie. They say they love but if they did, they tell the truth and say that. And for the claims of deep spirituality that our people and others who have promoted the dogma systems have promoted upon the planet, and they put buildings here, there, and everywhere, and funded it at the expense of the poor and the widow's pennies, and have been robbing the widow's pennies. This is why this one was disputing with the doctors of the law. Are we clear? And accusing them of their corruption. He didn't have to accuse them because he charged them with their corruption of stealing the widow's pennies. It is that body of men who set about to murder him, who put that in the books in order to hide that history. Are we clear? The 39th book in the Bible, and keep in mind when you're looking at the Bible, Septuaginta, any of the books, the enumerations are purposeful one way or another, so pay attention to numbers too. Ruth the Moabitess, and I'm not going to go into it, I'm just giving these keys to you so that you can study, so that you can understand some other things that I'm saying to you. That's Yahshua's great-great-grandmother. Are we clear? Clear. She was Moabite and he was Moabite. Are we clear? She had hair like lamb's wool, skin like burnished brass as if burned in the oven, and so did he. Are we clear? Not the image that they've shown you by the dark priesthood, showing him as a Roman, who was the murderers, actually. And it was the murderers of Yahshua used his image, his work, his honor, his integrity with the people to draw the people unto them, yet they were his murderers. That's why they would not do anything in his name. So they did the Roman god Zeus, and they put a J. And the J is around 15th century. The letter J was not in linguistics past 15th century. Are we clear? All priests know this. And it ain't nothing wrong with Jesus. Don't mistake me. Because it also means justice. Symbolizes justice. Are we clear? But the conversation now is for your liberation. Not for your enslavement, or not to get you to believe anything, to get you to know some things that the priesthood know that they haven't been telling you while they've been getting wealthy at your expense, and you had no power to cure anything. How many people you know that keep claiming to know Jesus, God, Allah, Moses, Muhammad can fix anything in society? Particularly, why don't they ask their gods to put this European in check that keeps destroying the planet? Oh, he's scared of him, right? Why don't they ask their God to tell this man to stop practicing servitude upon the poor, going to and fro the earth, devouring nations in the name of lords that they never name, God and country that they never name? Why don't their gods come rescue them from this Roman who was claimed to be white man, which is a legal title, has nothing to do with complexion. And why do not the priesthood tell them that their thoughts were in folly, when the priesthood knows that they too are listed as white men because that's a legal title? And that the people who are being destroyed are white people put into darkness. How come the priesthood don't want to get in those kind of conversations? Because the change stops jingling. And Rome won't give them their kickback from the corporate de facto operatives called the 501c3 Skull and Bones Agreement. So they don't talk this kind of conversation. As a matter of fact, I want you all to also, as I'm thinking about it, write this down. David Steele, and that's a European that used to work with the CIA of the corporate entity. And look at the 6 points, of control systems used by the CIA for the trolls and persons who will counter this information. Meaning that as fast as Dr. Naila records what we're saying right now and puts it on the air, CIA already has a budget for trolls to attack it.
Indeed.
So, but Europeans are starting to tell the truth too. So I'm giving you that name because he's one of the heads of the CIA, and he'll expose that stuff too. Because a lot of Europeans want to fix this because, as you already know, the middle class is being destroyed, and it's no longer in their interest to play this stupid game that has maintained the BS. But the people have been lied to so long, they think that this stuff is fringe, if you get the point, or out to lunch, or anti-government, when actually it's pro-government proper. You see the point? So keep that in mind. And this other thing that I want you to remember. When you run into any politician, whether they're council persons, mayors, these are all actors. In North America, and this is very clear, it's not an opinion, these are facts. So when we're talking about what you thought was religion and the priesthood, and you ran into a politician who's been taxing you and stealing your finance, he's a high priest whether you didn't know it. And the women are priestess. Every last one of them. Are we clear? All your big time ministers, every last one of your big time, we're not talking about small people that come sincere trying to help the community. Any big time minister, I'll name a few so that you don't get it twisted. Any of your popular black leader guys that have been marching people all around are 32, 33 degree Masons. Anyone in a Masonic order is a high priest. Masonry itself is not a negative. Are we clear? It's the preservation of the knowledge of the evolution of the human species on the planet with all the sciences that are attributed to the life of man and his evolution on the planet. Are we clear? I.e. Moorish science. This is why all persons in secret societies wear the Moorish fez. Can you stand up for a minute, good brother, please? Oh, you bought me a sandwich. Whenever you go into ancient culture, anywhere on Earth planet, Earth is called Gaia also. That's G-A-I-A. You will see that fez on ancient stone figures in ancient Babylon, in ancient Lemuria, for the star travelers, etc. And that is the symbol of the universe, also of the womb. And it was given to us by our mother. Are we clear? So even when in culture, when you see some people getting upset when sisters wear the fez, You can't wear a fast, you can't wear a turban type. That's her. She gave it to us. The other deal is recognize when you're going into ancient culture on Earth planet, it's a matriarchy, not patriarchy. That does not remove our testicles, brothers.
All right.
Or the marbles. You know, and we need to really get over a lot of things that we've been taught. We must bring balance to the planet again. And what brings balance is truth. On the top of the crown of that fez are 3 circles. Thank you, brother. And you'll see like this, and you'll count them, you all, in your spare time. Right? And you'll see in the center, it will be 9. That's the first circle. Second circle, it will be 12. Go back and count, y'all. And on outer circle, it will be 18. Now, and then you'll see it in 4 corners. You'll see it in 4 corners. And so those 4 corners represent the 4 corners of the universe. Are we clear? And in the center of that fez, you'll see a finial. For those of you who are metaphysicians, and those of you who are also engineers, and those of you who are LLDs, that means doctors of ecclesiastic. This symbol, if you look at your old Septuaginta, your old Bible, your old Book of the Dead, your old Kabbalistic literature, this symbol here symbolizes what you call God. From a metaphysical, they call it the black dot theory. In geography, they call it earth symbol and sun symbol, sun symbol. Are we clear? Keep this in mind. The reason I'm telling you this is because what you must comprehend from what we're talking about tonight is that religion is a study of the universe and a dispensation of the knowledge of the universe and its functions to the degree that you have not forgotten. Are we clear? And it's also remind you, it's sort of like cultivating a little plant with enough cultivation to keep it from dying, knowing that it has to grow later. Are we clear? On a larger scale. So it is with us. Are we clear? And so religion is designed to keep you inspired, but it itself is not your growth serum. Are we clear? And it is not conclusory. Are we clear? It is write this down, this is very important. Religions, and we're not talking about dogma, which is counterfeit, are social solace systems. And I'm telling you these things because collectively, I want these to be part of the canvas of your thought processes as we're talking. Are we clear? Now, when you see these circles, and I'll just do this as representative. Then from here, you got a cord. It's like an umbilical cord. Then a ball of mud called earth. Then the degrees that the earth dances as it follows the spiral of the sun as the sun shoots through the universe. And yet there appears to be stability, but it actually operates in a spiral. Are we clear? The Fez is also called Corona Sol, crown of the sun. Are we clear? So when you see persons who have called themselves Jews and Christians and Muslims and Hindus and Brahmins, and you do the tracers on all the cultures around the world, you're going to find your Fez at the root. Are we clear? So when our illustrious prophet brought you back the truth about your nationality and your birthright, purpose was to re-establish you in your proper place because you have been displaced on the planet. Are we clear? Politically and economically, you have been displaced. However, it's incumbent upon you to study for it to become your reality. Are we clear? Though it be true, it must be true to you. And so the heirs of the estate must evolve to a level of sincerity that nature herself recognizes you, that you recognize yourself. Then she comes to your aid. Before then, you will be left in the wilderness. And if Rome feeds on you, it will be that way. It's another reason why I did Wardship Disspeller years ago. Because I recognize many people, even in scholarship, are still spooked up by the word God that locks them out of truth. Are we clear? And again, I'm going to remind you, do not get caught up in that as a negative. It's not a challenge against the word God. It's just that it's not what you thought it was. So are we clear? Now, fact, truth. Those of you who know some of your history and some of the honor of your mothers and fathers know that we here in the North, or what you call Turtle Island, North America, Northwest Amexem, Northwest Africa, one of our ancient symbols here and around the planet is this. That is swastika. How many of you know what that means? Raise your hand. I saw you. Yeah, that was a quick drop down. Those things. But,
Peace. Peace.
no.
Sun.
Say it again?
The sun. 90, 90, 90, 360 circles.
Well, it does that too, but what is it called? There's a phrase that has been given to this swastika. Or like for instance, in the ancient days, even up to current, or in some parts of the planet still, but among us before we were conquered by Romans and turned our hearts away from our mothers and fathers and start following after Romans, before the Black Era, that's called the Black Era. It's not a people, it's an era. Are we clear? Like a period?
Yeah.
All right, of dark history, of ignorance, extreme debauchery.
Yes.
That's Black history. All right, now, when women would choose a husband, because remember they always chose us, we didn't choose them.
Indeed.
We was checking them out, but it didn't work that way. They put one in their hand, in the palm of their hand. And also, like, sometimes they used to dance, and they choose one and then mark you. You had to cooperate too. Well, that's how it worked. Things that kind of messed up So we're out of harmony with nature. We think we know what's up. It's not how nature works. And then plus we're minors anyway. When I say minors, they outnumber us like heavily. Anyway. So they put the swastika, and also in the matrimonial ceremonies, they would dress their hands, sometimes with henna, and they would do, amongst the designs, they would do tree of life, things like that, life star, a star of a 5-point star for Venus, and swastika. But this is commonly called from ancient times to ancient times to ancient times to ancient times to present. Are we clear? And from that evolved the phrase, the Supreme Being. That's where the phrase Supreme Being evolved from. This is what I just told you now is known by all priesthood. They don't promote it because they have different clubs that they have to protect their economic interests and their controlling factors. Are we clear?
Clear.
Do a research and you'll find it yourself. Are we clear? Now, go ahead.
So is it dogma?
I prefer if you get on the mic since we're... I'll explain, I'll go into that too, but go ahead. No, go, please do it. Bring it up, please.
So is it dogma that says it's earth, wind, and fire?
Say it again?
Earth, wind, and fire?
It's also that too.
Okay.
But that's not, now say the first part, what you said.
I said, is it dogmatic?
It's not dogmatic.
Okay.
That's truth.
Okay.
All right, that's religion. All right, now I want you all to look at this too. Because these are keys that I'm giving you. Because as we go along and we have some discussions and we go into the social politics in the future, keep in mind that while someone may be talking to you politically, all priesthood got this and more as a canvas in their background. Are we clear? So when you're in the idea that you've trained to be in, that there's a separation of church and state, that's mind control because there's no such thing. The state belongs to the church. Are we clear? So just get over yourself and just get that very clear. Are we clear? All right. And again, I'm going to repeat this so that you don't miss this whatsoever. If Mr. Donald Trump was standing here, who's the CEO for the United States Service Corporation company that went bankrupt the 30th of September, and I was talking to him, and I'm a Grand Sheik, I'd be talking to probably, I don't know what his degree is, but I know he's a Knights Templar. And there would be no dispute about our discussions, necessarily, maybe in front of you. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? If I was sitting here talking to Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan, you know, I'd say, go ahead, warm my coffee. Wouldn't be no argument. If I said I'm black and Negro, then he might, he might get out torches and stuff.
That's right.
But I tell him I'm Moabite. He said, oh. Because I'm in honor. Now, because even though they have oath to see that the descendants of the Moors don't get into power, that's a political issue. But he don't necessarily hate you in the sense that a lot of people think. Do you understand what I'm saying? They hate niggers. Because niggers are traitors to themselves and everybody else. If you get the point. That's not who they are, that's who they agreed to be. Are we clear? If I was talking to a rabbi of the rabbinate, saying claim to be a Jew, right? And I went into the science of my affairs, he wouldn't dispute. Do you know why?
He was.
Because he got one too.
That's right.
He may not wear it when he go to the club. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And for those of you who might be mystified or spookified, Martin Luther King had one too. Jesse Jackson got one too. Reverend Sullivan, big time preacher, Reverend Gray, who was Congress people, they got them too. They don't discuss it publicly because they claim to be Christians in the church and they're collecting people's finances for Jesus' hair that he never gets. Well, now that's the truth. The Wardship Disspeller in this conversation is to liberate you from those things. Not to condemn or not to condemn you for ever believing them, but to understand and comprehend that you've been played, yes. Get over yourself. I'm not offering you something different or better, I'm just telling you the truth. You deal with it as you please to. For those who don't comprehend, I'm not asking for an agreement, I ask you to prove me wrong. With research, not with mere opinion, nor with trolling for the CIA, with people that look like us. And in due time, they will be exposed. And I don't spend too much energy debating with them because their job is to distract you to get defensive, to get off your key, or to get off the track. But when you're dealing with truth, you don't put your ego in it. You put the love of your people in it. You put the love of the generation coming to protect them. Even though they may not comprehend what you're saying at this moment, or at this time, or this cycle, it is necessary for those things to be presented for the liberation of humanity. For to liberate you is to liberate myself. And we owe this to each other. We owe it to those who came before us, and we owe it to those who come after, and we owe it to the eggs in the womb of every woman that's in this building, and the women that are walking up and down the street who don't know they're the heirs to the world's largest estate, and they have been robbed over and over again by the priesthood who they've trusted, who working for Rome. And I'm not saying that to knock them, I'm just saying it because it's the absolute truth. Get over yourself, and please don't throw these sneaks at me, especially if you've been wearing them a long time. So Wardship Disspeller, and in the book, as you can see, I did the Romanic Latin word dispeller the way I spelled it, but that's deliberate. And wardship is the state of being that most of the humans are in at this present time, particularly those who have been under Roman rulership and occupation, particularly in North America and anywhere where the Roman operatives are operating under colonial powers on Earth planet. All of which is being challenged now on a larger scale, both galactically and in the dimension